there's a really big misconception that once individuals can hold data, they should and will. And actually, I'm going to have all my data on my side and I'm going to selectively share it with these organizations and they can delete all their data now. And that's not going to happen for like 6 reasons. But the first of which is for regulatory reasons, organizations have to keep records and they can and will and should. And banks, for example, have to keep them between 5 and 7 years, when they're collecting, for example, KYC data, depending on the jurisdiction. And so that's not going to change, So me sharing data with an organization is going to carry on, and those organizations will have to be good stewards of that data and look after it and secure it and so on. They might start to minimize some of the data they collect because they can now trust the source of it and, the classic over 21 versus collecting my date of birth. But actually, they're going to need business records. They're going to need transaction records. And that can and should be kept on the business side. And they can use that to create value and find patterns and insights and make recommendations. That's a good thing. The difference is I'm now going to know what's being held and what I shared and be able to request things to be deleted when I need to. And, that example of the right to be forgotten or the right of deletion, that's a bit of a game changer in the sense that right now I have to send an email in or perform or fill out a form and go in, and that organization responding has to do commercially reasonable or go to commercially reasonable lengths to delete it. If my data is now buried inside a training data set for an LLM, good luck asking them to delete it. But my point is I'll know what data I shared. And honestly, I think this is less about what's happened in the past and more about what's going to happen in the future, what's going to start to be shared. So the data that's in the past, all the stuff I've shared, that's under GDPR land. That, okay, they have it now, they're going to look after it. They got consent for whatever processing they're going to use it for now. Once individuals are empowered, have this empowerment tech, for example, the EU digital wallet, then I'm going to start sharing new data sets with organizations. But I'll also have a record of what I've shared. And I think that's the paradigm shift that I think is going to be interesting. And I'll also be able to interact with the business in a new way. And we can get onto that later. But, I think the mistake to make is that this is about data, even verifiable credentials. Because actually this is about the new customer relationship. This is the new endpoint that I'm going to interact with the business, and they can ask me things and I can respond. But also I could use it as a little audit record of all those messages. And maybe we start to use it as a new, I wrote about this last year, this idea of a customer account. It's a record of all the interactions I've had, my preferences, my needs, my account numbers, all that information. Right now that sits inside the firewall. Well, guess what? I can now have a copy of that outside on my side. And that's useful for me just to have. But also we can have this new interaction channel with the individual that's trusted, it's a secure endpoint. And we're going to move beyond apps and email and SMS and all those kind of clunky, broken and untrustworthy channels.